Behind closed doors, it's insane. Desperate Harry begs for a second chance as Meghan focuses on her Hollywood comeback. Meghan Markle fuels divorce rumors by stepping out without the engagement sparkler Harry designed himself. To kick things off today, we're going to do something a little new that we didn't do before. We're going to be reacting to some comments from you guys. So the first comment that I want to share with you is from a fan named Joan. She says, people may listen to your sad story once and a few will listen twice, but after that, no one cares. Joan, couldn't have said it better myself. And this is something that occurs to me a lot when I'm talking about Meghan and Harry. Why do they think that people want to hear the same old story so many times over and over again? So the question, as always, is, are they doing this on purpose? Is it intentional? I thought most everybody knew that once you start repeating yourself a lot, it's probably time to shut up. That seems to be something these two cannot understand. So please, if you have any thoughts on this issue, share them with me below in the comments. The second comment I want to share with you comes from Nancy Henderson Chapman 8901. So she says, tell the bloody truth and pay her nothing. The public doesn't want her to win. They know what she is and what she has done. Nancy, you hit the nail on the head. That's the thing I hope the royal family really understands in this situation. We already know about Meghan. This is not a secret. This is not something that you can cover up. Once you've let the cat out of the bag, so to speak, once Pandora's box is open, there is no closing it. You can't go back to where you came from. And that's an important point that I hope the royal family is keeping in mind. It is incredibly upsetting to the public when we're told that we just don't understand what's going on. We don't know the situation, when in fact we do. It reminds me of something Judge Judy once said. She said, don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. And yeah, she's 100% right about that. Nobody likes to be gaslighted. Nobody likes to be told that things are a certain way when we can clearly see it's the opposite. And this is something the royal family really has to understand about this situation. Don't tell us that Meghan Markle didn't fake a pregnancy, that Meghan Markle really is this lovely person that doesn't have any problems with the royal family. We've seen the proof with our own eyes. There's no sense in trying to hide it. The truth is, the royal family doesn't need to pay her anything because we already know everything, so hush money is simply unnecessary. So thank you, Nancy, for reminding me that I'm not alone in my way of thinking. So for 7 years, they acted like it was Prince Harry and Meghan Markle versus the world. They used to be inseparable, but this summer things started to change, and that's coming from an In Touch Weekly source. So while Harry was back in London in June for his court case, supposedly Meghan was going to parties back home in Montecito without Harry with her. And then by the middle of August, well, he was away again. This time he went for a charity polo match in Singapore, and he made a quick trip to Japan. Meghan, while Harry was gone, well, she saw the Taylor Swift concert in LA, supposedly, and she had some type of belated 42nd birthday party over a meal with friends. Now, the insider says they seem to be spending more and more time apart. It's not a good sign. Well, the question is this another troubling sign? Now, I know that some people have said, oh, we don't know they're getting a divorce until we hear it from them. But friends, this is not good stuff. I mean, Meghan has not been seen wearing that custom triple diamond engagement ring that Harry designed himself. And of course, it's going to encourage speculation that after struggling with increasingly negative public opinion and also failing business ventures, Meghan and Harry are headed for divorce. The source says Meghan has claimed the ring is being repaired, but she's been spotted on multiple occasions without it since May, and she has to know that not wearing it would cause divorce rumors to explode. Some people think she did it on purpose to send a subtle message to Harry that she's not happy in the marriage. It's no secret that they've been having some growing pains. Well, I don't think anybody would argue with the idea that it's been a pretty rough year for the two of them. Now, Harry's book Spare came out in January, and it actually was pretty successful, but things didn't stay that way. Soon enough, the tide really started to turn. In May, Harry and Meghan were accused of exaggerating that car chase scenario with the paparazzi in New York City, and the month after that, they were called grifters by a Spotify executive after their deal with Spotify went belly up. And then what about that deal with Netflix, you say? Well, we know what happened with that. Experts have been talking about the fact that they have very little to show for their $100 million Netflix collaboration. The source notes Harry and Meghan have lost a lot of momentum and the goodwill they had in Hollywood, and their production company has even been called a flop. But what about the fact that they're still going out in public together, you may ask? Don't be fooled by that, come on. I mean, they're continuing to put up this united front in public, which makes a lot of sense for their brand. But according to this source, behind closed doors, the tension between them is insane. Meghan blames Harry for the mess they're in, and they're constantly fighting about money and failed projects. And reportedly, that has caused them to need some time apart. Harry's time in Asia started a bit of a cooling off period for the couple, says the source, also claiming that he's planning another longer trip to Africa later on this year to shoot a Netflix docuseries without Meghan with him. There's no doubt, according to this source, they've been living separate lives. And of course, we never know for sure if the source really knows what they're talking about, but I suspect this one is spot on. And it's not good news for Harry, because let's remember, he left his whole life behind in the UK for Meghan, who he thought was his soulmate. All he really has is Meghan. It would be devastating to lose her too, says the source, also adding that Harry is desperate to repair the damage. He's been begging her for a second chance to prove to her that this whole thing can work. She's taking matters into her own hands and focusing on her Hollywood comeback. But is that going to be a good thing for the marriage? Apparently, if Meghan's going to make it career-wise, she's going to have to pull away from Harry even more. She's getting advice, according to the source, that it's better to distance herself from him for the sake of revitalizing her career. Now, not only has Meghan signed with the Hollywood super agent Ari Emanuel, but she's also loving the renewed praise for her long-running role in the drama series Suits, which actually destroyed records when it debuted on Netflix just recently. The source added she's completely rebranding herself and looking to become a global celebrity influencer. And Harry is still putting his efforts into the same charities that he worked for as a working member of the royal family. It's telling that their team is focusing more on Meghan's solo projects than on their endeavors as a duo. What happened to all this talk of unity and being a team? When you think about what we used to see from Meghan and Harry, I mean, before they were inseparable, they never went out without the other one. They were always showing us some PDA we didn't want to see, always clinging on to each other. So when I consider all that, I think something is definitely going on here. So the source says that Harry's not all on his own. He has been leaning on a pretty surprising ally. Charles has reached out to offer his support, says the source, adding that the king never stopped loving and wanting the best for Harry despite their differences. And Charles, we got to hand it to him, is also in an incredibly unique position to offer some advice to Harry. No one knows how much pressure public scrutiny can put on a marriage better than Charles. It ruined his and Diana's relationship and threatened what he has with Camilla as well, so he truly feels for what his son is going through. Their renewed communication might signal a true thawing in their relationship. But it sounds like we can't really say the same for Harry and Meghan's marriage. Moving to California was supposed to be a fresh start, not the beginning of the end, says the source. Harry and Meghan still love each other very much, but they have a lot of regrets about how they've handled things since moving to California, and very different ideas about how to move forward. Friends of theirs are really worried about whether the two can survive these major bumps in the road. I understand why friends of theirs are really worried. They should be. I mean, Meghan and Harry have faced problems that none of us could even dream of facing. Now, to be fair, these problems are their own fault, but anyway, if we forget that for a minute, I think we could feel some sympathy for them trying to work through these struggles and through these problems. I know all of you have faced problems in your marriages, and a lot of times the problems can seem insurmountable. It's really difficult to stay together when there's so many things trying to break you apart. So I guess we're still just going to have to play this game of wait and see. Wait and see if Harry and Meghan's marriage is going to be able to weather this storm. And of course, another problem with this is it was an ill-fated marriage in the beginning. Now just think about it. If an American married into the royal family, what role would they play in the family? How much influence could they really have? Well, we've seen what happens when a narcissistic American like Meghan marries into the family. She believed that she was going to be in charge. See, when one marries into the royal family, you become a member by marriage. You're not a real royal. And so you would be expected to adapt to the traditions that your spouse upholds in the royal household. That was something that Meghan couldn't do. Meghan did not seem to be able to understand that she was just the wife of the royal. And so, of course, she needed to observe the traditions and the protocols that Harry was raised into. Because of her status as a royal wife, Meghan Markle never should have expected to be able to make decisions on behalf of the royal family. She could have shared her personal opinions and feelings with Harry, certainly, but her opinion was simply never going to be important when it came to the royal family. She was always going to be expected to conform. She should have been happy with that. She should have been able to accept that maybe she had power in their little family, the family comprised of her and Harry and the kids, but when it came to the wider family, of course not. I love my country and I love my fellow Americans, but looking back, this is the second time that American has married into the royal family, and it's the second time it's been a complete catastrophe. Now, the first time, in order to marry that American divorcee Wallace Simpson, King Edward VIII had to abdicate, and after spending World War II in the Bahamas, they spent the rest of their days in Paris. And now Harry's got this American wife, and she, along with him, now live in California. She found working in the royal family wasn't something she enjoyed. Instead, it was too much like hard work for her, so she decided to run away to California. She married into the royal family, and she's an American. See, she expected to be the star, and that was her problem. Now, for a little while, she was a working royal. She was somewhere between supporting cast and walk-on. And unfortunately for Meghan, she couldn't deal with the fact that her role was small, so she decided her lack of stardom was all because of racism. Because in her mind, it couldn't have anything to do with the way she treated people or who she was as a person. I mean, she had to be center stage. Why wouldn't somebody want her to be center stage? And that's really the problem with her. She's a narcissist. She doesn't understand that she is not always going to be the star. As far as her role in the royal family, well, she was expected to fit in, and that was unacceptable to her. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what nationality marries into the royal family. It has to be somebody who can accept and can respect a hierarchy. Somebody who doesn't always have to be the center of attention. Because in the early years of being a spouse of a member of the royal family, it doesn't matter what your nationality is, you are going to play a small role. And over time, if somebody works really hard and acts right, their role can become greater. The Duchess of Edinburgh is an excellent example. She never tried to draw a bunch of attention to herself. She was always there to lend a helping hand. And eventually, everybody's respect for her grew. She was very important to the late Queen in the final years of her life. She supported her in a whole variety of ways. But I don't believe for one second that she ever tried to influence decisions. The Princess of Wales has also really grown into her role over the years. Now, sometimes she does have a starring role now, but that's because she earned it, because she was always showing up and she was always doing what was expected of her. As future queen, it makes a lot of sense that she would have a slightly bigger role at this point, but I don't believe that she tries to influence the king's decisions even now. Maybe she does have some influence over her husband William, and we would expect that, but her main job is to be helpful and supportive of her husband and kids. And you, what do you think about this issue? If you've got an opinion, please leave it for me below in the comments section. I can't wait to read your thoughts. Thank you so much for continuing to support us, and if you haven't yet, please click that subscribe button and don't forget to like my video. And don't be afraid to click the subscribe button to get more updates in the future. Thank you so much for tuning in, have a lovely weekend, and we'll be back to see you all tomorrow.